something I wanted to bring up before we get too far afield is I have some of my supporters, my audience, subscribers, and Patreon and such, and one of the members wanted to share something about Charlie Kirk because there's a lot of stories about Charlie Kirk, and some people don't like him. They do like him. They've got negative stories, good stories. Well, I have someone who's actually I know very well who actually met Charlie Kirk. And the thing is that their story with Charlie Kirk happened at CPAC. This is going back a few years, about I think this was in 2020 or 2019. And he was at CPAC. He was actually working as part of the staff. He's part of the CPAC, but he was there as a student. It was great. And he had to get from one end of CPAC to another to do some stuff. And to do that, he had to jump onto this escalator, and he was cutting people off, trying to, we're young, we're not thinking about other people, and he's being in a rush. He started cutting through the line of people on the escalator, and one people he suddenly cut off. He started to feel like Charlie Kirk. And he hadn't been pleasant. He wasn't outwardly rude, but he was kind of rude in the way he jumped in front of Charlie Kirk. It was accidental. He didn't mean to any malice by it. And Charlie Kirk at the time, as he described to me, this is back when Charlie Kirk was single, before he got married, before he had his kids. And so he's surrounded by, a bunch of beautiful women. And so he kind of stood out a little bit. And Charlie Kirk, for his credit, when this member of my audience recognized who he was cutting off and how he was being rude, Charlie Kirk didn't, as many other personalities might, didn't scold him, didn't put him down, didn't try to abuse him or embarrass him. He's like, youthful exuberance. Okay, I get it. Look, just relax a little bit. Take it easy. It's not a big deal. I get it. But at the same time, Charlie Kirk then noticed that surrounding them as part of the people going up that escalator and moving forward was Mark Geist. Now, you may remember, I'm sure, Frank, you and I'm sure everyone on the panel remembers Mark Geist, but for those who don't remember him, in the audience, he's one of the heroes who was in Benghazi. The people that Clinton said, what does it matter? The guys who died trying to protect our ambassador, trying to protect our people at the embassy as it was being attacked, that we were told, no, they were just having a protest outdoors. And then there's M60s and the equivalent AK-47s being shot at them. And the doors being blown off the walls. And that's why we had the movie 13 Hours, which is pretty much a documentary, not an action movie. Mark Geist was there. And so Charlie Kirk, at that moment, decided he stopped everyone, stopped people as they were coming up off the escalator. And he started shouting at the top of his lungs and said, "This is Mark Geist, folks. This is the guy who was in Benghazi. He was fighting to save our ambassador. He was fighting to save American lives. This man is a hero. He needs to be lauded. We need to recognize this man." Again, Charlie Kirk could have been egotistical, could have insulted my audience member, my Patreon member, could have taken his time to berate him. He could have totally ignored Mark Geist. He could have just let him go by or just give him a nod. No, he went out of his way to both, one, completely forgive the young man that was in a rush, and to take the time to make sure the entire crowd at CPAC that were there at that moment, they weren't acknowledging Charlie Kirk, who was a star, that they were acknowledging Mark Geist, who most people didn't even recognize, didn't know who he was or what he had done. That's the kind of man that Charlie Kirk was. Somebody who would understand our flaws and our frailties. And it's also the man who acknowledged our heroes because he believed in America. He believed in individuals. He believed in speaking about the things that most people wouldn't notice and not emphasizing the negatives when he could emphasize the positives. That's one of the great memories that one of my members had about Charlie Kirk. It's a story that needs to be told today and needs to be remembered because that same man, Charlie Kirk, would not recommend anyone act out in violence on the left or the right, not to take advantage of his death, not to get retribution or avenge his death. And that needs to be mentioned. And I wanted to share that with you guys. I promised that I would share it. And I thank you for giving me a chance to share that story, to share that message, because I think it's important and timely as we talk about many of the other factors that led to this moment and what's going to be the consequences of it. I think that was important to understand why this man mattered so much, why there's so much involved in this. So I thank you guys for that.